let's talk about San Francisco. So San Francisco has a universal basic income pilot, but this one is even better. It's a UBI for trans individuals who admittedly have to meet some income thresholds, but it's specifically for trans people. And this is the state of San Francisco today. What do you have to say about it?
Makes my blood pressure go up. That's about it.
I mean, the good thing is, when was the last time you set foot in San Francisco, this shithole city? Recently, right?
Yeah, somewhat recently. It's probably been maybe 3 months.
How was it? Because I haven't been there really since the beginning of the pandemic.
I mean, to be honest, it wasn't as bad as I was visualizing. I was in the Market Street, downtown area, and it felt pretty normal, except, I was always looking over my shoulder.
So it's not as bad as LA.
Yeah.
Have you been to LA recently?
No.
Oh, okay. By the way, LA just elected a communist to be the mayor, so enjoy crime, LA people. You deserve all of it.
Whoever they elected, I wasn't following that at all, except
Karen Bass.
Yeah. She she says that crime is a priority for her, right? You don't think that's BS?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
People can say crime is a priority for them, but here's a hint. When they say things like restorative justice is also a priority for them, it means that crime is not a priority for them. Okay. This is one of those trade-off things. You can't have enlightened liberal justice system and also have low crime. You can't. People often they point to New York. New York used to have a lot more crime, even than now. I know it's hard to believe. Even more than now, okay? It was a crime-filled city. And Giuliani came along and he cleaned it up. And they said, wow, he did such a great job. Now the city is safe. Okay. But he implemented a lot of sort of regressive, oppressive policing policies that resulted in it being a cleaner place. Are there downsides to those policies? Sure. But it's a trade-off. You wanted a safer city. Well, the price of that is a city where police stop and frisk and they just sort of, profile people based on appearance and harass them away from certain parts of the city. This is just the price of it. And people like Karen Bass are not for that kind of policing. So how are you going to clean up the city? Is she for just like taking a fucking like a dump truck and just getting rid of all the homeless encampments? Is she for that?
I'm going to guess not.
Well, how are you going to clean up the city? The problem with the city is there's so many homeless encampments. People have to walk in the street to walk around some of the homeless camps. And they're not even tucked away under freeway underpasses and stuff now. In LA, they're just on the street.
So were you were there recently?
Yes, and I saw them. I have to walk around them.
Dang.
Go to downtown LA. There's parts of downtown LA where the homeless tent stretches across the entire sidewalk. How is this allowed? I don't understand.
I told you, I think I told you before, but I have a friend who finally left LA. I think he had a upscale, he was renting an upscale apartment building or apartment in downtown LA, and there are just too many people dying around his building. He said somebody
got
it's a
shithole.
Shot.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned, one example, somebody got shot like 5 times in the chest right outside of his apartment.
It's an absolute shithole. There's just no getting around this fact. And places like San Francisco claims that here's the thing. San Francisco claims that it's because London Breed knows that she's going to get booted out if she doesn't do something about crime, but it's not in their DNA. When Giuliani came in, what was he? He was a prosecutor or an attorney general or something like that. He was always an anti-crime sort of guy. So when he came into office, it was in his wheelhouse to get tough on crime.
Mm-hmm.
But people like Karen Bass, people like London Breed, let's just be real. they were elected in office because they were the restorative justice kind of people,
Hmm.
right? They were the being lenient on crime. They were part of the criminal justice system is systemically racist. So how can these people flip into being the tough on crime? They can't. It's just not in their nature. That's just not what they're built for. Now, some of them, like London Breed, are trying, sure, because she wants to remain mayor. I understand. Lady, you're not going to be able to do it. You're just not going to be able to do it. Do you have what it takes to brutalize criminals, to infringe on their rights? And you can say, no, we don't have to do that. We can clean up the city without doing that. No, not when it's this far gone. You have to sort of push the pendulum back in the other direction to clean it up. And what I mean when I say push it back in the other direction, that means it's going to go too far in the other direction in some instances. That's just the reality of it. Okay? You cannot go back to equilibrium to fix something that is out of equilibrium. Okay? It has to go back in the other direction. That's just the way it is. I mean, I guess it's possible. Just going back to equilibrium, that'll fix it in a long enough timeline. But you don't have that long enough timeline. You're an elected official with terms, right? You have to be reelected every so often. So you don't have the luxury of a long timeline. You need to push the pendulum way back in the other direction. Are you capable of that? No, these people don't have it in them. What LA needed was a guy like Caruso, who's basically a Republican. He just he changed into a Democrat like what, 6 months ago, just to run in this
Hmm.
election, right? The fact that he was only a few percentage points behind just shows you how fed up a lot of people in LA are.
Yeah.
They elected a Republican to be mayor.
Yeah.
People can say, well, he's still lost, and that indicates that people in LA are still retards. And while I will agree with you, a majority of people in LA are still retards and they voted for Karen Bass. It's a much smaller majority of retards than normally exist in LA. So that tells you something. It tells you things are very, very bad.
Yeah. Hmm.
People are tired of the crime. They're tired of walking around homeless encampments. They are just tired of it. And she probably loses the next election. I'll just be honest with you. You know, if there's some, not a Republican turned Democrat, but maybe just a actual Democrat who has the credentials to say that he'll clean up the crime, probably he'll win the next election. And I have no confidence in people like her, people like London Breed.
Wait, does a Democrat that actually has the credentials to clean up crime, does that even exist, really?
Yeah, I guess it does. I mean, it doesn't always work out. Like, look at New York. A Democrat who is a police officer hasn't really cleaned up crime, right? But I could see people voting for it. So they'll vote for it. Whether it will happen for them or not remains to be seen.
The crime's probably going to get a lot
It's
worse.
going to get worse, for sure. It's going to get
Yeah.
worse.
Given the downturn that's
And the
everybody's
same for San Francisco. The
yeah.
same for San Francisco. It's these people, they claim to be tough on crime. It's just words, enough to win an election. Being tough on crime means swinging the pendulum back in the other direction. It doesn't mean just ratcheting it back from insane leftist policies to slightly less insane leftist policies. That's not going to do the job, right?
I agree.
When
It won't, yeah, it won't, I think it won't be that kind of small change won't be noticed on the streets.
no, not enough for your next election. When you filled your bathtub with scalding hot water, the solution to get it down is not to put less scalding hot water in it. What is the solution? The solution is put cold water in it. And these people, based on their entire lives, their entire history, just the fiber of their being, they're not capable of putting cold water in the tub. Okay? You know, you need a Republican to come in and put cold water in the tub. Okay? That's all there is to it. You need somebody who doesn't respect criminal rights so much. That's just the reality of it. I'm not saying that this justice system should just be so weighted in that direction, but these cities are out of control and they've been so far left leaning for so long that it just requires heavily right-leaning people in charge to fix the situation, not just slightly less left-leaning people. I'm sorry, that's just not the way it works.
How much did you read into this transgender assistance thing? Like, are people just going to be able to, how are they going to sort
Um,
of
I think
make
the
sure
story,
that you have to, be from San
yeah,
Francisco or something
right.
like that?
Well,
Are
I
people
think they
just
can
going
make
to,
sure you're from San Francisco. You need to have a mailing address that's in San Francisco. That part I believe, and that's fine.
that means you could just move in though, right?
Yeah, I
I mean,
guess. Yeah. As far as like how important it is that it's trans, it's only like 50 people who are receiving this assistance, so it's
yeah.
really nothing. It's just PR, to be honest with you. It's just PR. It's just one portion of a. I'm not trying to act like, oh, look at this is San Francisco is wasting billions of dollars on trans people. No, that's not what's happening. It's just a PR thing. It's fun to talk about because it just highlights how ridiculous
But
and
wait, it's a PR thing that could have some big consequences though, right? Like it seems likely that it will at least attract a lot of trans people to move to San Francisco.
well, if you want to move to San Francisco, good luck with the cost of living though. Right? I'm not too worried about that. So, good luck with the cost of living. I mean, and you have to meet income thresholds. So, you can't be a rich person that just moves in. I'm not super worried as far as, well, this means the budget is all thrown out of whack. No, I'm not saying that. But it's just a fun story to talk about because it just shows it's kind of emblematic. It's just emblematic. It's not really going to affect things one way or another. It's not going to push the budget in any direction. It's only 50 people, and what do they get, like $1,200 a month?
Yeah, it's less than $1 million a year.
Yeah, it's really the money is not. It's so insignificant, but it's emblematic of what they find important to talk about. Which again, if they're still finding this sort of stuff important to talk about, it's really indicative that their eye is not on the ball as far as what really matters, such as skyrocketing crime, just, the homeless situation, all of these things that really matter to improve San Francisco. They're not fully committed to those things. They still care about this nonsense.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that you don't have the right people in office to fix things. And they'll never have the right people. Never, never,
Never?
never, never. They'll never vote for a Republican. Will they ever vote for a tough on crime Republican?
I could see the day. Yeah.
I can't. Not in San Francisco.
It starts with free speech at Twitter.
It starts there, maybe. I don't think so. They haven't had a Republican mayor in decades.
Hmm.
So, San Francisco is insane. That's all we got to say about that.